Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Ball, the YouTube channel where we discuss big picture NBA. On today's episode, we will be looking at probably the most interesting team of the offseason, the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have the Anthony Davis saga, as well as the incoming of Zion Williamson to thank for that. As per usual, we will have a best case scenario, a worst case scenario, and a more likely scenario. Spoiler alert, Anthony Davis trade scenarios ahead on this episode of The Offseason, New Orleans Pelicans edition. So you won the draft lottery, and you get to pick Zion Williamson. Congratulations, Alvin Gentry. Hopefully it goes better than the last time you guys had a number one pick. However, this time you guys have David Griffin running the helm. No longer is it Dell Demps and his incompetent ways, but we have an actual competent man as the general manager. Currently, as I record this, it looks like Anthony Davis is not interested in staying in New Orleans. And I could have made this video 30 minutes long talking about Anthony Davis trade scenarios, but that's for a different video. But what happens if he stays? What happens if they get to run Zion Williamson with Anthony Davis? I personally think that Anthony Davis is a great person to have next to Zion Williamson going forward. Zion being a big, bulky dude that can stay down low so that Anthony Davis is a little bit more free to roam, kind of almost play a hybrid four, while Zion Williamson takes a beating with his 285-pound frame. This could work very, very well. So what is the best case scenario for the Pelicans? Obviously, it means keeping Anthony Davis in New Orleans. Now, what's next after that? They have to get rid of the Solomon Hill contract. It's just way too big for a player that's not very productive. He had an okay season last year, but still not up to par for a guy making that much money. So I propose a trade of Solomon Hill and the 2020 lottery-protected first-round pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers for J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith and Solomon Hill have comparable cap numbers. However, J.R. Smith is only guaranteed a little over $3.5 million. This way you can bite the bullet on that $3.5 million and go out and sign you a good free agent to pair with these guys. Now you have a starting lineup of Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, and Zion Williamson. Who would you like to put in there with that? I suggest bringing in Bojan Bogdanovic. After Victor Oladipo went down, Bogdanovic had a heck of a season. He became the focal point for the Indiana Pacers offense and kept them in the hunt, and they were holding that 3 seed for quite some time. He was able to learn how to become a pick-and-roll ball handler as well as a spot-up shooter and shoot at a very, very efficient level. If they go this route, they'll have 3 efficient pick-and-roll ball handlers with Zion, Drew Holiday, and Bogdanovic, and they'll have 2 effective pickers with Zion Williamson and Anthony Davis. They could do this and still have money to sign a starting caliber point guard, someone like a Ricky Rubio, a Rajon Rondo, someone to initiate the offense and let these guys go to work. In a Kevin Durant-less Warriors Western Conference, they could probably go at least to the conference finals with this type of squad. Not to mention, Zion Williamson is going to do most of his growth within the first 3 years of the league, and you'll be able to really position yourself to be a championship contender at that point. So what is the worst thing that can happen? Well, obviously it has to do with Anthony Davis leaving, but I think it doesn't happen until trade deadline. This is where it gets really tricky for David Griffin, is that if he's going to trade Anthony Davis, it needs to be done this offseason. You can't wait until trade deadline, no matter how much he thinks you can. Teams like Boston are probably going to be out on trade deadline, and teams like New York might be out as well. Right now is where you will have the most teams vying for Anthony Davis and his services. If they end up trading him to Boston for Jaylen Brown and 1 first-round pick and Marcus Smart, that's not a successful trade. You can't get Tatum if you trade at the deadline. You can get Tatum if you do it now. I feel the same way about the Lakers, the Clippers, and all the other teams that are involved in this Anthony Davis sweepstakes. So what's the most likely scenario for the New Orleans Pelicans? Well, it starts with Anthony Davis getting traded this offseason. I personally see him going to play with Kyrie Irving. Wherever that is wherever he'll go. The reason I say this is because I don't see the Lakers being able to beat out either the Celtics or the Knicks offers, and I don't see the Celtics or the Knicks offering if they don't have Kyrie Irving on their roster. So the most likely scenario I see is Kyrie Irving staying in Boston, and Boston trading Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, and the Memphis Grizzlies 2020 first-round pick for Anthony Davis. I think Danny Ainge knows that he needs to go out and get a star to pair with Kyrie Irving, and if he can kind of promise, hey, I have all the cards, I can get Anthony Davis, he might be able to pull Kyrie just off of that. If this were to happen, the Pelicans would be going forward with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Zion Williamson, as well as probably having 2 lottery picks with flattened lottery odds in next year's draft. As well as they would have Drew Holiday going forward to kind of mentor these young kids, and they might be able to pick up James Wiseman in that draft, who is a future stud big man in the NBA. So what do you think will happen with the Pelicans this offseason? Obviously drafting Zion Williamson is a must, but what packages do you think they get for Anthony Davis? Don't forget to tune in next time as I look over the Dallas Mavericks, as well as be on the lookout for a new mini-series I'm going to start. It's going to be looking at the offseason more from the player's perspective than the general manager's perspective. So we're going to look at things like Anthony Davis trade scenarios, where Kawhi Leonard should go in free agency, where Kevin Durant should go, and what's going on with the Houston Rockets. As always, like and subscribe, comment down below, and thanks for watching.